Let's get into it. What a week. The FDA announced that for the first time, retail pharmacies will be allowed to offer the abortion medication mifepristone, got it, to be... Shouldn't have stopped. I should have just been confident. I should have just moved forward. Now they know that I worked on it. Anyway, you get it with your prescription now. Anytime abortion becomes more safe and accessible, everybody wins. That being said, our most heartfelt congratulations to Herschel Walker. To ease us... One day, that will be the last time I'll have said that name on this show. And it might have been today. To ease us into the year, the January 6th committee released some absolutely beautiful text from Trump's director of communications, Hope Hicks, to Ivanka Trump's chief of staff, Julia Radford, in which Hicks freaks out about the impact of the insurrection because of the damage it will do to American society, to see our democracy. It's about our career prospects. Luckily, Rudy Giuliani calmed them all down on his way to the Masked Singer. Wrote Hicks, in one day he ended every future opportunity that doesn't include speaking engagements at the local Proud Boys chapter, at which point Hicks and Radford did the only thing they could. They founded the Proud Girls. They're gonna kick down that glass barricade. Continued Hicks, we'll all look like domestic terrorists now. Damn. I hate it when I spend 4 years putting on a red nose and giant shoes and thick makeup and a big stupid wig, and then all of a sudden somebody starts playing clown music and makes me look absolutely fucking ridiculous. Responded Radford, oh yes, I've been crying for an hour. Why is that weird? Don't awe her. Don't awe these fucking people. There's nothing wrong with crying for an hour. I do it for every one of these fucking shows. Over in Congress, after years of supplicating himself before Donald Trump and near constant maneuvering, cajoling, and dissembling to make himself acceptable to the most depraved and vulgar and stupid and bigoted and cruel members of his own party, the kind of people with no agenda except to sow chaos and seek attention, Kevin McCarthy's dream of finally becoming Speaker of the House seems on the verge of dying in the bed of his own making. It turns out the kind of people with no agenda except to sow chaos and seek attention decided to use the Speaker vote as an opportunity to sow chaos and seek attention. And after years of these absolute ghouls running wild with impunity and watching as the so-called serious members of their own party, led by Kevin McCarthy, were too cowardly or craven to criticize their worst successes, they decided to take their power in this new tiny majority for a joyride, and boy, what a ride it has been. And I just want to also point out, we are all the unsung heroes of what's going on, because the reason this is so hard for fucking Kevin McCarthy and these goons is because their majority is so tiny. And their majority is so tiny because everybody showed up and voted against anti-choice and anti-democratic candidates. After Tuesday, they've been through 3 rounds of ballots, something that hasn't happened since 1923, with Kevin losing over and over again by basically the same margin. Listen. When I said I wanted to go round after round with an insurrectionist, I meant Madison Cawthorn. It's getting harder and harder to say. Afterward, Trump took to social media to kind of, sort of with a wink and a nod, beg Republicans to vote for McCarthy, declaring, Republicans, do not turn a great triumph into a giant and embarrassing defeat. It's time to celebrate. You deserve it. You deserve it does describe a lot of what Republicans have been going through recently. However, Trump's plea moved exactly 0 votes as Wednesday and Thursday saw McCarthy losing by the same margin over and over and over again. Meanwhile, GOP Representative Andy Barr had a more optimistic perspective.
McCarthy has now lost 6 times in a row. What's next?
Well, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it from the perspective that Kevin McCarthy won the vote among Republicans over 200 members to 26 times.
Hey. Think of all the sides of the Pentagon the terrorists didn't hit with a plane on 9/11. Meanwhile, on his show, Steve Bannon called on Republicans to nominate, you guessed it, Donald Trump as Speaker.
So my vote right now is why not Trump? If you got to have a nasty piece of work in the room negotiating, give me the nastiest.
Give me the nastiest. is not only his congressional negotiation strategy, it's also what he says to the hairstylist at the shirt store and in the Pornhub search bar. In an attempt to win over the Republicans who were blocking him, McCarthy changed course on Thursday, offering up rule changes that would weaken his position even further as Speaker. McCarthy also agreed to accept the official title Weaker of the House, as well as a bi-weekly wedgie. We're like 2 days from McCarthy promising to be Lauren Boebert's butler for a day. But don't worry, everyone. All that groveling didn't even work. At the time of this recording, Kevin has lost the 10th vote. In fact, Matt Gaetz started the mayhem off strong by casting his first vote Thursday for Donald Trump. Trump may not be the fresh blood the party needs, but he does have a habit of making some appear on the steps of the Capitol. That was correct. That's your response was correct. Meanwhile, incoming freshman George Santos, if that's his real name, which it may not be, is facing calls to resign after virtually every aspect of his life story has turned out to be false. These lies include claiming that he's the biracial descendant of Ukrainian Jews, which he then tried to explain by saying he meant he wasn't Jewish, but Jewish. Really. That he graduated from NYU and Baruch College, never attended. That his mother died because of 9/11, not true. That he worked at Citigroup, not true. He also said this: have you ever heard a Goldman Sachs employee take the stage at the largest private equity conference in the world, SALT, run by Anthony Scaramucci, and berate their employer? Well, I did that. He did not do that. He never worked at Goldman Sachs. He did not sit on that panel. In fact, Anthony Scaramucci told CNN that not only was Santos not on that panel, Santos never attended the conference. He claimed to run a charity that saved thousands of dogs. No evidence that the charity exists. He claimed that 4 of his employees died in the Pulse nightclub shooting. Completely made that up. He also said he's been openly gay for many years, but the Daily Beast found that he failed to mention he was married to a woman with the divorce only finalized 12 days before he launched his first congressional campaign in 2020, in which he described himself as a proud gay Republican. And then there's the mess of lies and conflicting accounts and confusing public statements and disclosures regarding his personal and corporate finances, claiming to be worth millions and somehow paying himself over $1 million and loaning his campaign hundreds of thousands of dollars from his business, while at the same time in recent years being unable to pay rent and getting evicted twice from apartments in Queens. In one instance, he claims he was mugged on his way to pay his rent, but surprise, the NYPD has no record of this incident. After being chased around by reporters endlessly since he arrived in Washington, journalist Hunter Walker reported that George Santos was overheard telling an aide after he got lost in the halls of the House office buildings, "I think I'm learning the ropes of this place." That's truly what he said. And then Santos put out a statement celebrating being sworn into Congress, really, even though that did not happen because no one has been sworn in yet because of the speaker fiasco. No notes, no jokes. 10 out of 10. The Japanese government announced that starting in April, they will be paying families up to 1 million yen, or $7,500, to move out of Tokyo to one of the less populated areas of the country in order to deal with overcrowding in the capital. This is Plan A, said local leaders. Plan B, prefecture officials said solemnly, is Godzilla. Meanwhile, Jeremy Renner shared his first selfie after being hospitalized, having been run over by his own 7-ton snowplow. The other 2 snowplows were standing by to teach him 2 different lessons about Christmas, but thank God he learned everything on the first go. The photo will replace the other photo he was going to use for his Christmas card, a photo of him being run over by a snowplow. Also, Pope Benedict XIII died on Saturday. But I'm still writing Benedict XIII on all my checks. Thank you all for coming. Over 135,000 Catholics flocked to Vatican City in order to pay their respects to Pope Benedict following his passing. If you're just hearing the news, Pope Benedict died peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by loved ones as he was run over by his own snowplow. The funeral will be presided over by Pope Francis, making it the first time a living pope has done this, so that's some rare hot pope-on-pope action. As of now, Pope Francis is not considered a suspect. At CES 2023, the big consumer electronics convention, Samsung revealed a new telemedicine app that will let you get medical diagnoses using only your Samsung TV. Upon watching your 10th episode of Emily in Paris, a Wellbutrin prescription will be automatically filled at your nearest pharmacy. The app also works by detecting if your TV has motion smoothing enabled. If it does, your Alzheimer's drug is already in the mail. If that wasn't enough, CES 2023 also featured Uscan, a new device for your toilet that analyzes your urine and beams the results to a smartphone app. They're still fine-tuning the analysis, however. Right now, all the notifications are just, yep, that's piss all right. It's the first week of 2023, and we already have Theranos, but for piss. In other science news, the U.S. has approved the world's first vaccine for honeybees. It sounds complicated, but if you could think of a better way to turn honeybees autistic, I'd love to hear it. A sarcophagus in a Houston museum was returned to Egypt after it was revealed that it had been looted from that country. The director of the Houston Museum said, "Sorry about the mix-up. We all assumed it was one of those classic Texas sarcophagi." And finally, the director of a Colorado funeral home was sentenced to 20 years in prison after it was discovered that she was actually selling body parts, which means the McRib isn't coming back anytime soon. Bail for the woman has been set at an arm and a leg.